This video is about Gilgamesh faces Humbabu in Forest of Cedars, but his friend fails. If this myth excites you, please like the video, share it with friends, and write in the comments how it pulled you into the adventure. In the heart of Uruk, where the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting golden hues across the sacred land, a whisper stirred among the people. The tales of Gilgamesh, the mighty king and half-god, resonated through the cobbled streets as children clutched their mothers, eyes wide with awe. His statues loomed tall, their marble forms shimmering in the fading light, but the peace of Uruk was but a fragile veil, for the gods had grown restless. On a day when the skies swelled with ominous clouds, and thunder rolled like a distant war drum, Gilgamesh stood at the edge of the Forest of Cedars. This ancient grove, revered and feared, was home to the towering cedar trees that kissed the heavens, their trunks thick as the strongest oak. But it was not the trees that sent shivers down the spines of men, it was the guardian of the forest, Humbabu, a monstrous creature, fierce and relentless, cursed by the gods to protect the sacred word. Beside him stood Enkidu, the wild man, forged from clay and destiny, a brother to Gilgamesh in all but blood. Their bond had been tested in the fires of battle and tempered by the trials of friendship. Together, they had faced beasts and conquered fears, but today the stakes were higher than ever. The very essence of their honor hung in the balance. "Do you hear it?" Enkidu whispered, his hair wild like the tempestuous wind, eyes scanning the shadowy depths of the forest. The whispers of the trees, they warn us of the darkness that dwells within. Gilgamesh's gaze remained fixed on the horizon, his heart a storm of anticipation and dread. "We must confront it, my friend. Humbabu's reign must end if Uruk is to prosper. We cannot turn our backs on our people." But the creature is fierce, a force of nature. The gods themselves tremble at his name. Enkidu cautioned, his voice thick with concern. "Even the bravest heroes have fallen to him. What makes us different?" With a flash of conviction, Gilgamesh turned to his friend. "We are not mere men. We are destined for greatness. We carry the strength of the gods within us. Together, we will face whatever lurks in the shadows." As the sun sank lower, a chill settled over the forest. The air grew heavy, laden with the scent of cedar resin and the creeping dread of the unknown. With a shared nod, they stepped into the forest, the crunch of leaves beneath their feet echoing like a funeral dirge. The deeper they ventured, the more the forest seemed alive, its pulse synchronizing with their own. Whispered warnings danced on the wind, carrying the voices of the ancient trees, begging them to turn back. Shadows flickered at the edges of their vision, figments of their fears, or perhaps glimpses of something darker. Suddenly, a guttural roar shattered the silence, reverberating through the woods like the clash of thunder. Gilgamesh's heart raced as the ground trembled beneath their feet. He gripped his sword, forged from the finest bronze and imbued with divine power. "We are on the cusp of glory," he shouted, summoning the courage that had led him through countless battles. In an instant, the underbrush exploded, and there stood Humbabu, a towering figure draped in serpents, eyes ablaze with fury. His skin was the color of ancient stone, and his breath exuded the stench of decay and despair. "Mortal fools, you dare trespass in my domain? You seek to challenge the wrath of the forest." Gilgamesh stepped forward, unwavering. "We are not afraid. I am Gilgamesh, king of Uruk, and I will not let fear rule our fates. We seek to end your tyranny." Humbabu's laughter echoed through the trees, dark and mocking. "Your arrogance blinds you, young king. Do you not see the folly in your quest? The forest stands eternal, and I am its guardian. There will be no glory for you here." As the creature lunged, Enkidu moved with the grace of the wild, positioning himself beside Gilgamesh. "We fight together, brother," he roared, brandishing his own weapon, a spear tipped with the fang of a fearsome beast. The clash of steel against claw reverberated through the forest, echoing like a symphony of despair and destiny. Gilgamesh struck with precision, his sword arcing through the air, finding purchase in Humbabu's thick hide. But the creature only roared in fury, swinging a massive arm that knocked Enkidu to the forest floor, the impact sending shockwaves through the ground. "Enkidu!" Gilgamesh shouted, his heart lurching as he saw his friend sprawled. He fought to keep his focus, parrying another of Humbabu's frenzied attacks. "Get up, we must not falter." With immense effort, Enkidu rose, shaking off the pain that coursed through him. I am fine," he gasped, his spirit unwilling to succumb. "Together, we shall bring down this monster." But Humbabu was relentless, his rage igniting the very air around them. "You think you can defeat me? I am a child of the gods. I am the wrath of the forest." The ground trembled beneath his feet as he summoned the natural fury around him, the trees bending in submission to his will. Gilgamesh's heart raced as he watched the forest respond, branches whipping like lashes. "Listen to me, Enkidu. We must focus our strength, strike at his heart. We are destined to prevail." With a roar of determination, Enkidu threw his spear, its trajectory perfect, but Humbabu twisted aside, his serpentine body evading the strike. The spear embedded itself deep in a tree, sending splinters flying. Fools! Humbabu bellowed, the forest shaking under his wrath. You will regret this day. As the creature advanced, Gilgamesh charged forward, eyes aflame with purpose. He ducked beneath a sweeping claw, rolling to his feet and thrusting his sword forward. The blade pierced Humbabu's shoulder, and for the first time, the creature faltered, a snarl of pain escaping his lips. In that moment of vulnerability, Gilgamesh felt the weight of destiny press upon him. He could see the fear flickering behind Enkidu's fierce determination, and it ignited a fire in his heart. This is our moment, strike with all your might. But Humbabu, now enraged beyond reason, unleashed a furious howl. You will know despair, mortals, the forest will consume your souls. He raised his clawed hand, and the trees around them began to writhe, roots emerging like vengeful spirits hungry for blood. Enkidu, together! Gilgamesh shouted, and in perfect synchrony they launched their final assault. Gilgamesh's sword gleamed as it arced through the air, while Enkidu, fueled by the primal fury of the wild, charged with renewed vigor. But just as victory seemed within reach, a sudden flash of light blinded Gilgamesh. He stumbled, disoriented, and heard Enkidu's pain gasp echoing through the chaos. Turning, his heart sank as he saw his friend falter, a root snaking out from the forest floor, ensnaring Enkidu's leg and dragging him into the depths of the earth. Enough! Gilgamesh roared, desperation clawing at his throat. He lunged forward, but Humbabu's colossal form blocked his path, laughing cruelly. Your friend is lost, King, you are alone. The betrayal of fate gripped Gilgamesh's soul like a vise. He felt the darkness creeping into his heart, the weight of failure threatening to suffocate him. Enkidu, he cried, reaching out, but the forest roared in defiance. In that moment, the bond forged through trials and adventure shattered as Humbabu unleashed a powerful blow. Gilgamesh staggered back, gasping for breath, the weight of his destiny pressing down on him like a funeral shroud. Your quest ends here. Humbabu taunted, eyes blazing with malice. You will never escape the grasp of despair. With fury ignited within, Gilgamesh rose, though his heart was heavy with grief. He would not abandon his brother to darkness, nor would he allow the forest to claim his spirit. He charged, a warrior forged in the fires of loss and love, ready to confront destiny itself. As the clash of their wills erupted in that ancient forest, the very heavens watched, silent witnesses to the tragedy unfolding below, a tale of friendship, honor, and the ghost of a promise made long ago. And in the depths of despair, Gilgamesh understood he would fight not just for victory, but for the heart of a brother lost to shadows. A storm gathered above, and as lightning split the sky, the world held its breath, awaiting the outcome of this epic struggle, a story that would echo through eternity, forever etched in the annals of time. As the shadows deepened in the forest of cedars, the air crackled with tension and electric anticipation of the struggle that lay ahead. Gilgamesh stood alone against the looming figure of Humbabu, the guardian of the forest. The weight of Enkidu's sacrifice pressed upon him like a shroud, intensifying his resolve. Your friend is claimed by the forest. Humbabu roared, his voice echoing like thunder through the ancient grove. Now you will join him in eternal night. With a fierce cry, Gilgamesh surged forward, channeling his grief into a weapon of rage. He had trained his entire life for this moment, yet no amount of preparation could have equipped him for the loss he felt. He thrust his sword towards Humbabu, the bronze glinting in the dim light, and the air around him trembled with his fury. Your tyranny ends here. Gilgamesh shouted, the words cascading from his lips like a battle hymn. He struck, his blade biting into Humbabu's flesh. The monster howled in pain, a sound that sent shivers through the trees, and for a fleeting moment, Gilgamesh felt hope ignite within him. But Humbabu was not merely a beast, he was a creature of the gods, imbued with the wrath of nature itself. With a swift, serpentine motion, he retaliated, sweeping his mighty claws toward Gilgamesh. The king barely dodged the blow, rolling to the side as the ground beneath him splintered like dry parchment. I will show you the true meaning of despair. Humbabu thundered, and with that proclamation he raised his arms to the heavens. The forest reacted violently to its master's command. Trees twisted and writhed, their branches snaking toward Gilgamesh with predatory intent. In a frantic moment, Gilgamesh ducked under a branch that whipped past him, narrowly avoiding its lethal grasp. But a second branch struck him in the leg, sending him sprawling to the dirt. Pain shot through him, but he gritted his teeth, forcing himself to rise. He would not yield. Enkidu, he whispered, feeling the ghost of his friend's spirit urging him on, I will avenge you. Humbabu, sensing the shift in the tide, unleashed a guttural laugh. I call for your fallen friend. Perhaps he can resurrect you when I bury your bones beneath the roots of this cursed forest." With a surge of anger, Gilgamesh regained his footing, the power of the gods igniting within him. "I fight not just for myself, but for every soul you've tormented." He hurled himself at Humbabu again, unleashing a flurry of strikes, each blow fueled by the memory of Enkidu's fierce heart, his unwavering loyalty. The two titans clash, the sounds of steel against claw resonating like a war drum. Gilgamesh felt the fire of the forest's wrath against him, but he steeled himself, knowing that he was the embodiment of hope for his people. He withdrew, taking stock of his enemy's movements, and in that moment of pause he noticed a flicker of vulnerability in Humbabu's fierce eyes. "Even the mightiest can fall," he shouted, spitting blood from his lip and wiping the sweat from his brow. "I will strike again, your reign of terror is at an end." As if in response, the great guardian's fury erupted anew. Humbabu unleashed a series of fierce roars, summoning the elements around him. Dark clouds spiraled above, casting ominous shadows, while the wind howled through the trees, carrying whispers of despair. Yet in his heart, Gilgamesh felt a flicker of warmth, a bond that transcended life and death. The beast lunged once more, but this time, Gilgamesh anticipated the strike. He rolled to the left, rising with a fierce determination, his sword alight with the fervor of a king unwilling to accept defeat. He thrusted deep into Humbabu's side, feeling the blade connect with the creature's heart. But Humbabu merely snarled, rage and pain intertwining in a grotesque symphony. "You think you can defeat me with mere steel? I am the wrath of the forest, and I shall never die." Forest trembled as Humbabu summoned the strength of the earth, the trees convulsing under his command. In that moment, Gilgamesh gazed into the fiery depths of Humbabu's eyes, and a realization dawned upon him. "What if I do not just fight against you?" he shouted, his voice booming with newfound conviction. "What if I claim the power of the forest as my own?" With the gods watching, he willed the energy of the ancient grove to respond, calling forth the spirits of the trees and the whispers of the winds. The ground beneath him surged with magic, the roots of the forest awakening from their slumber. Humbabu faltered. "What trickery is this?" he spat, confusion flashing across his monstrous visage. "It is not trickery, it is destiny." Gilgamesh roared, charging forward as the very forest rallied to his side. He pressed deeper into Humbabu's flesh, the blade weaving through scales and sinew, pouring every ounce of his essence into the strike. The forest responded to his call, vines and roots sneaking forth, wrapping around Humbabu's limbs, constraining the creature's fury. The trees groaned with the struggle, their ancient spirits uniting against the guardian who had long terrorized them. As Humbabu writhed in agony, Gilgamesh found his voice breaking through the chaos. "You are no mere monster, you were once a servant of the divine, will you not reclaim that honor?" Humbabu's snarls turned soft, the rage dinning. "Honor? I am bound to this curse, the gods have sentenced me to suffer for eternity." "In suffering lies strength," Gilgamesh retorted, his heart echoing the truth. "Join me, and together we can reveal the path to redemption. You need not be a monster, you can be free." In that instant, the battle stilled. The roots constricting Humbabu's limbs fell slack, and the monstrous guardian hesitated. The forest held its breath, the winds quieting, awaiting the next move of its fierce protector. "You would have me abandon my wrath?" Humbabu murmured, a flicker of doubt igniting in his fierce heart. "My purpose. Your purpose can change." Gilgamesh cried, stepping closer, the sword still raised but now pointed at the ground. "Join the cycle of life, not death. Help me protect the land and its people." Humbabu's eyes flickered, the rage giving way to something softer, a glimmer of hope, perhaps. As the hesitation grew, Gilgamesh pressed on. "Together, we can protect this forest, and your spirit shall become a legend, not a curse." The silence enveloped them, and then, as if the very world had exhaled, Humbabu's roar transformed. It was no longer a sound of anger, but of sorrow as the realization of his plight washed over him. "I have forgotten what it is to live without hatred." "Then let us show you," Gilgamesh replied, lowering his sword, offering a hand instead of a weapon. "Let us become guardians of this realm, not adversaries." In that pivotal moment, the forest erupted in applause, the long-suffering trees rustling their leaves in a chorus of acceptance. Humbabu, once an emblem of fear, regarded Gilgamesh with newfound respect. "You would accept me, despite the darkness I have wrought?" "We all have darkness within us," Gilgamesh said, his voice firm yet warm. "It is how we choose to wield it that defines our fate." The monstrous guardian bowed his head, the weight of centuries of burden lifting for the first time. "Then I shall heed your call, King of Uruk. I shall join you, and together we shall forge a new destiny." As their pact was forged, the very fabric of the forest shifted. Nature embraced its guardian, and the shadows that had loomed over the grove began to dissipate. The air tasted sweeter, the sun breaking through the canopy, illuminating the path ahead. In that moment of unity, Gilgamesh felt the weight of Enkidu's spirit beside him, a warm presence that whispered of honor and perseverance. He had fought for friendship and honor, and in those trials, he had forged an alliance that transcended realms. "Let this be the dawn of a new era," Humbabu proclaimed, his voice resonating through the ancient trees. "Together, we will protect the land, no longer foes but allies against the darkness." As the sun poured its golden rays upon the forest of cedars, Gilgamesh stood tall, his heart swelling with hope and purpose. The world had witnessed the fall and riot of a guardian, and in the echoes of destiny, the tale of courage and redemption would be told for generations. Thus, the legend of Gilgamesh and Humbabu began a new saga woven into the very essence of the earth, where the bonds of friendship carved paths through darkness, illuminating the way to honor, sacrifice, and the eternal battle against despair. And so, the gods smiled upon their new alliance, knowing that in their united strength the fate of the world would be forever changed. In the vibrant aftermath of the battle, the sun broke through the oppressive grey clouds that had veiled the forest of cedars. Gilgamesh stood amidst the ancient trees, their boughs whispering songs of a newfound freedom. Beside him, the once mighty Humbabu now wore the semblance of a guardian reborn. The air hummed with the tension of change, a palpable shift that resonated deep within the earth. "Do you feel it?" Humbabu rumbled, his voice deeper now, laced with an echo of humility. "The forest pulses with life. I was blind to the beauty around me." "Yes," Gilgamesh replied, his heart swelling with purpose. "Together, we have forged a new path. No longer will we be enemies. We will unite against the darkness that threatens our home." The forest sighed, as if in agreement, the leaves fluttering like a chorus of hope. Yet, in the heart of this transformation, a shadow loomed, an omen that foretold trials yet to come. Above them, in the celestial realm where the gods convened, a storm brewed. Ishtar, the goddess of war and love, paced in her jeweled chamber, her eyes burning with fury. What audacity! That wretched beast has turned from his purpose, and a mere mortal has swayed him. Her voice rippled through the halls of the divine, summoning the council of gods. "The balance must not shift," Enlil declared, his voice resonant and commanding. "If Humbabu, once the forest's guardian, turns to a protector of men, we must act. His betrayal must not go unpunished." Marduk, the wise god of creation and magic, stepped forward, his expression grave. "But if he embraces this new destiny, we may have a greater ally against the coming darkness." "Fool!" Ishtar spat, her fury igniting the air. "Do you forget the prophecies? The beast of the forest must remain our sentinel. He must be forced to remember his wrath." As the gods clashed in debate below in the forest of cedars, Gilgamesh and Humbabu stood poised at the precipice of their new alliance. The air shimmered with promise, but it was stained with the remnants of conflict. "Listen closely," Gilgamesh said, gripping Humbabu's massive arm. "This is but the beginning. We must prepare for the trials ahead. There are forces that will seek to divide us. Let them come." Humbabu thundered, his voice a growl of newfound determination. "I will not retreat into shadows again." "Then we shall stand together," Gilgamesh affirmed, eyes blazing with resolve. "We will protect York in the forest, reclaiming the balance that has been lost." They set forth deeper into the forest, the ancient trees towering above them like silent sentinels, their branches swaying in solidarity. Yet, as they journeyed, the shadows lengthened and an unsettling silence enveloped them. Suddenly, the ground shook, and from the underbrush emerged a creature forged from the very nightmares of the gods, a massive, twisted amalgamation of bark and bone, eyes glowing like molten coals. It was the vengeful spirit of the forest, summoned by the gods to reclaim Humbabu, a creature born of their wrath. "Flee?" Humbabu roared, instinctively stepping in front of Gilgamesh. "This is my fight." "Ah?" Gilgamesh countered, planting his feet firmly. "We fight as one, together." The monster lunged, claws outstretched, as Gilgamesh drew his sword, its blade glistening with the light of the sun. He met the beast with a fierce cry, plunging his weapon deep into its side. Yet the creature twisted, absorbing the blow and countering with a powerful swipe that sent Gilgamesh sprawling to the ground. "Gilgamesh!" Humbabu shouted, his heart pounding with the need to protect. "Get up, we cannot falter now." With grit and determination, Gilgamesh rose, blood trickling from his lip as he wiped his brow, determination igniting anew within him. "This is our moment. Fight beside me." With a primal roar, Humbabu surged forward, his massive form colliding with that of the forest spirit. The clash reverberated through the sacred grove, sending birds scattering into the sky. Tree branches splintered under the force of their tussle, and the air crackled with raw energy. "Remember your purpose," Gilgamesh bellowed, his heart racing as he fought to stay focused amid the chaos. "Use your strength for good." Humbabu nodded, drawing upon the wisdom of the trees that had once nourished him. "I will channel the forest's wrath against this abomination." With newfound clarity, he unleashed a torrent of energy, roots and vines erupting from the earth to ensnare the monster. Gilgamesh, sensing the shift, charged alongside his ally, his sword gleaming with magic as he struck at the creature's exposed flesh. "Together, we will eradicate this threat." The battle raged on, a furious dance between the forces of nature and the embodiment of vengeance. As they fought, the creature howled in pain, the woods around them responding with fierce loyalty to Humbabu. "You will not take the guardian from us," the trees seemed to cry, the branches whipping around like furious serpents. But the forest spirit was not easily subdued. In a final act of desperation, it unleashed a guttural roar, sending shockwaves through the ground. Gilgamesh staggered back, a sense of dread creeping into his heart. "Humbabu," he shouted, "we must finish this together." Fueled by the bond they had forged, Humbabu turned to Gilgamesh, their eyes locking with an unspoken commitment. "For Uruk, for the forest." Drawing their combined strength, they launched an all-out assault. Humbabu's massive body absorbed the creature's strikes, shielding Gilgamesh as he sought an opening. The king's blade sliced through flesh and bark, and with each blow, the creature's resolve crumbled. "Now!" Gilgamesh cried, his voice echoing through the forest. In one final, monumental strike, he plunged his sword deep into the creature's heart, feeling the surge of energy pulse through him, a connection to the very essence of life and destruction. The spirit let out a cry that shook the very heavens, its body convulsing before it collapsed, the forest sighing in relief as the threat was vanquished. The trees swayed in gratitude, their leaves shimmering like stars against the emerging twilight. As the dust settled, Gilgamesh collapsed to his knees, breathless and bloodied. Humbabu stood tall beside him, the air around them thick with triumph and the bittersweet taste of loss. "We have prevailed," the guardian rumbled, his voice choked with emotion. "But at what cost?" Gilgamesh looked up, feeling the weight of victory and sorrow intertwining. "We have forged a new destiny. The path ahead will not be easy, but we will face it together." Yet, unbeknownst to them, the gods had watched with disdain from their celestial abodes. Ishtar, furious at the alliance that had formed, flicked her wrist, sending a dark shadow over the land. Let them rejoice for now. They will soon learn that the wrath of the divine cannot be forsaken. As the sun melted into the horizon, Gilgamesh and Humbabu stood as sentinels of the forest, unaware that a greater conflict loomed just beyond the veil of twilight. The echoes of their battle resonated through the land, but the gods were not finished with them yet. In the shadows, the dread promise of divine punishment lingered as the forest held its breath, waiting for the next chapter of the saga to unfold, a journey that would test the very limits of honor, sacrifice, and the enduring bond of brotherhood forged in the fires of conflict. The legend of Gilgamesh and Humbabu had only just begun, and the world would soon tremble at the trials that lay ahead. As twilight descended over the forest of cedars, the air shimmered with a palpable energy, a testament to the clash of titans that had just unfolded. Gilgamesh knelt in the underbrush, breath ragged, the vibrant hues of the setting sun casting an ethereal glow upon the battlefield. Beside him, Humbabu stood tall, his massive frame still trembling with the aftershocks of their struggle. Forest hummed around them, a living tapestry of life that danced to the rhythm of their newfound bond. But even in this moment of victory, a shadow loomed larger than the trees themselves. Gilgamesh felt the weight of divine eyes upon him, a heavy gaze that pierced through the very fabric of their triumph. The gods were restless, and their fury was about to unfurl. "Tell me, Humbabu," Gilgamesh asked, wiping the sweat and blood from his brow. "What now? We have vanquished the spirit of the forest, but other threats linger, do they not?" Humbabu turned his serpentine gaze toward the eternal sky, a grim shadow falling across his features. "The forest is vast, and its secrets run deep. We have merely scratched the surface of the trials that await us. The gods will not let this end without a reckoning." As if summoned by his words, the air thickened, and a deep rumble echoed through the trees. From the branches above, a figure of radiant beauty descended. Ishtar, the goddess of war and love, adorned in shimmering armor, her eyes aflame with rage. Her presence twisted the very air, sending chills coursing through the forest. "How dare you defy the will of the gods?" she thundered, her voice like a tempest. "Humbabu, you were forged to protect this forest, to remain its terror, and you, Gilgamesh, you have meddled with forces beyond your understanding." Gilgamesh stood, drawing his sword, its blade shimmering in the fading light. I have fought for honor and friendship. We will not cower before you, goddess. We have forged a new destiny together. Ishtar's laughter rippled like thunder, a chilling sound that reverberated through the grove. You think you can defy the will of the divine? I will show you the folly of your choices. The wrath of the gods will descend upon you, and you will know true despair. The ground quaked violently, and from the depths of the forest, the roots and branches twisted, writhing in pain. The trees groaned as if they had awakened from a long slumber. Their ancient spirits now stood into a frenzied rage by the goddess's command. Gilgamesh felt the vibrations coursing through him, a stark reminder that the gods would not be easily dismissed. We stand united, Humbabu. Gilgamesh shouted, determination igniting within him. We will face her wrath together. Humbabu's eyes narrowed, the flicker of defiance igniting his spirit. Yes, for too long have I remained the puppet of the divine. If the gods seek to bring ruin, then let them feel the full force of the forest's wrath. With a roar that echoed through the trees, Humbabu summoned the very essence of the forest. Vines and roots erupted from the ground, forming a barrier around them, a protective cocoon against the impending storm. Gilgamesh felt the energy surge within him, a bond stronger than steel, as he stood shoulder to shoulder with the guardian. Ishtar, unperturbed, raised her arms to the heavens, summoning the storm. Dark clouds swelled above, lightning crackling and illuminating the ancient grove in flashes of raw power. Then let the forest pay the price for your defiance, she bellowed, and with a single command, she unleashed the tempest. Winds howled like vengeful spirits, tearing through the trees as branches snapped under the onslaught. Rain fell in blinding sheets, drenching the ground, transforming the forest into a chaotic battlefield. Gilgamesh gritted his teeth against the sheer force of nature unleashed upon them, each gust threatening to knock him off his feet. Now, my friend, he shouted to Humbabu, we must strike while the moment is ours. Channel the forest's spirit. Let it guide you. With a primal roar, Humbabu surged forward, the muscles of his massive form rippling as he tore through the chaos. Vines snaked around his limbs, empowering him as he became a force of nature incarnate. He charged toward Ishtar, his mighty arms swinging like battering rams, while tears of rain mixed with the sweat of battle. The goddess met his charge with a fierce resolve. You dare challenge me? Beast, she spat, drawing her own weapon, a spear forged with the essence of celestial fire. The air around it crackled as she hurled it toward Humbabu, the weapon glimmering like a falling star. Gilgamesh acted instinctively, rushing forward to intercept the spear. He swung his sword high, clashing against Ishtar's weapon as the forces collided, the shockwave sending him staggering back. I won't let you harm him, he declared, eyes blazing with defiance. Foolish mortal. Ishtar hissed, her voice dripping with venom. You think you can protect him from the wrath of the gods? You are but a fleeting shadow in the face of eternity. But Gilgamesh stood firm, his resolve unyielding. As long as I draw breath, I will protect those I love. He charged forward again, dodging the wrathful strikes of Ishtar's spear. With each lunge, each parry, he felt the weight of Enkidu's spirit urging him on, a fierce reminder of their brotherhood forged in flames. The battle raged on, and as Humbabu and Gilgamesh fought side by side, the skies darkened further. The very essence of the forest responded to the struggle, the trees bending and swaying as if they were alive, whispering the secrets of old. The ground trembled beneath them, roots entwining and breaking free, a tempest of life rising against the goddess. Together, Humbabu bellowed, summoning the power of the forest in tandem with Gilgamesh. Let us reclaim what is ours. With a unified roar, they surged forward, the forest erupting in a riot of green and gold as the ancient spirits answered their call. Roots lashed out, ensnaring Ishtar's legs, pulling her down as she struggled against the magical binds. The air hummed with energy, a chorus of nature united against divine wrath. How dare you? Ishtar cried, fury twisting her features. You will pay for this betrayal. Gilgamesh, seizing the moment, raised his sword high. No longer will we be pawns in your game, we will fight for our destiny. With a final push, they pressed forward, the forest spirit lending them strength as Humbabu swung his massive arms like a whirlwind, throwing Ishtar off balance. Gilgamesh charged with a fierce cry, his sword piercing the air as he caught the goddess off guard, the tip of his blade grazing her side. Ishtar gasped, eyes wide with disbelief. You dare strike me, mortal, she snarled, blood trickling from her wound, her fury igniting like wildfire. You will know my wrath. But even as she spoke, the forest surged around her, bolstered by the strength of the bond forged between Gilgamesh and Humbabu. The roots constricted tighter, and in that moment, the forest united behind them, a collective force rising against Ishtar's anger. Fate has chosen a different path. Gilgamesh shouted, swinging his sword again, this time aiming for the spear she wielded. The weapon shattered against the blade of his sword, splintering into shards that rained down like comets. As the shards fell, the forest shifted, the air thick with the pulse of life. In that instant of unity, Gilgamesh and Humbabu felt a surge of power, a connection to the very heartbeat of the earth. Together, they channeled that energy, directing it toward Ishtar, the goddess who had sought to divide them. No, she screamed, fear flickering in her fierce gaze. But it was too late. The combined force of the forest surged forward, the roots and vines wrapping around her, intertwining with her very essence as the air crackled with energy. In that moment, as the forest embraced her, Ishtar's anger began to wane. The spirits whispered their secrets, their songs weaving through the air, tempting her to remember the honor she had once held before the god's corruption. "You cannot bind me," she shouted, her voice now laced with desperation. And yet, Gilgamesh could feel the struggle within her, the flickering remnants of the goddess who had once fought alongside mortals. "Ishtar, remember who you are. You do not have to be the harbinger of destruction. Embrace the balance," he pleaded, his heart open, willing to see even a goddess transformed. As the force of the forest enveloped her, doubt flickered in Ishtar's eyes. She hesitated, her voice wavering. "Join us." Humbabu roared, his massive form looming over her, a protector rather than an enemy. "You do not have to remain a puppet of vengeance. Together, we can protect this realm, not tear it apart." With a sudden shift, the roots slackened,